Speaking of finding a place to belong, we have evidence that we've uncovered here at the agency that we have a person who benefited from a CTSO and from CTE. So I'm going to call on Dr. Lay to take it from here.
Thank you, Mr. Fowler, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. I often do not share about the challenges or barriers I faced or overcame as a child, and sometimes continuing into the adulthood, but the circumstances, opportunities, setbacks, walls, all those cumulatively have shaped and brought me here today to do the work that I do, and to be able to share a personal narrative about how a simple CTE certification became the catalyst that I needed to pull myself and eventually my family out of the cycle of poverty. So just a little bit of history going back circa 1980s. Picture a one-story, two-bedroom home filled with 17 individuals, 6 adults, 11 children. These families were asylum seekers under the Refugee Act of 1980, and my family was one of them. In today's PEMS terms, we were considered living doubled up, McKinney-Vento eligible, but throughout my childhood, we lived in poverty. For some contextual information, English is my second language. I grew up with a very strong cultural upbringing, which I will spare you all from. I am the middle child, only daughter, and I have a special needs disabled younger brother, which you do see a picture of him and I in the top left. I was always building and modifying contraptions for him to be able to be included in everyday things like feeling the ocean water and enjoying bike rides. I was brought up and raised to be a caretaker, or what they would term as a parentified child. The expectation was for me to be able to provide emotional and practical support for my family member instead of being and take on a caretaker role rather than being cared for myself. And this was meant to be what my future entailed. So I was not meant to go to college. That privilege was reserved for my older brother, the firstborn Asian son. And so as I entered high school, I enrolled in health classes and I joined a CTSO called HOSA, Health Occupation Students of America. And I did this with my parents' permission only because I finagled my way through it, and they thought that it would help me to better take care of my special needs brother in the future and them in the old age. Eventually, I earned my certified nurse assistant, which is a CNA, and also my emergency medical technician or EMT certification before high school graduation. I became the Houston regional president-elect of HOSA, going on to lead HOSA teams in statewide and national competitions. And on the screen here, you can see some photos from my days in rotations, which were hands-on, work-based learning, training, or practicums, opportunities very much like internships, but you'll see medical data entry in the top right, the cardiologist department. I did work with the American Red Cross, the Forensic Center, Children's Hospital, and more. All that to say, little did they know, my parents, the journey in itself gave me the courage and means to want more for myself. And it gave me focus, determination, confidence, and most importantly, hope. I did leave home against their wishes to attend college, breaking every plan that they had for me. Eventually, that led me to being disowned by my family. They thought that life would be too tough for me without them, so I would eventually come back to the plans that they had for me. I was very fortunate to receive academic scholarships, but also personal endowments from the very medical businesses I did rotations at during my HOSA practicums. These paid for most of my college expenses, but it was my CNA certification that I received in high school that allowed me to keep going. I took classes during the day and I worked night shifts during my 4 years of college to pay for those extra expenses. Now, because of my CNA certification, I graduated from Baylor University with a Bachelor's of Science in Neuroscience, Pre-Law, and Pre-Med. Because of a simple certification, it allowed me to build upon skills and knowledge that has led me through being a special education teacher, educational diagnostician, behavioral specialist, assistant director of special education, and earning my master's and doctorate's degree. CTE and CTSO, like HOSA, can shift the child's trajectory in life by opening up doors that people thought were locked. That is why it's so integral in creating these opportunities for at-risk students, as I once was. When we consider the data, we have currently 121,000 homeless students. And according to Perkins, only 14,000 are accessing CTE opportunities. So we must really consider, how can we ensure more at-risk students like I was are given these monumental opportunities to access to hands-on, career-focused learning for an improved future. Thank you.
Let me say just briefly that that's a very powerful story, and it warmed my heart to hear how powerful CTE and CTSO was in the life of Dr. Lay, and she's not alone. There, as she mentioned, there are lots of there are other stories like hers, but there should be more stories like hers, and so I think that's the message there. So, way to go! And when I heard her story, I was like, wow, you've really impressed me so much, and it's such a neat thing.